Up here earlier, Dan.
It's the mayor. I was here before. I would have moved your thing if it's good.
Video in council proceedings.
Sell the mace. Sell the mace.
Please be seated. Councillors, in view of the time, I intend this evening to extend this until 10:30. I hope everybody is in agreement. We've still got quite a lot to get through.
In the morning.
Councillor.
Mr. Mayor, under the Council's Constitution, Procedure Rule 10.2.2, under Part 4, Section 13.22, I move that agenda item 3.5, the non-executive business items be debated.
Noted, Councillor, thank you. So we move on to item 3.5. Agreed? Councillor Brian Salinger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It might seem surprising to start a motion by remembering what at the time was seen as an international disaster some 40 years ago. However, it seems to me that with the benefit of hindsight, the beneficial effects for the people of Barnet and for the people of our country has been enormous. Those members of the council who are old enough to remember life in North London in the late 60s and early 70s will remember a very different place from the Barnet that we know today. In those days, Mr. Mayor, if you wanted to get a pint of milk after 6 o'clock in the evening, there was only one place you could go to, and that was open from 9 till 9, 364 days of the year. They were even closed on Christmas Day.
Unless you were a school kid.
Today, there are hundreds of food providers open all hours, and even the major supermarkets have responded by being open 24 hours a day. Our eating habits have been transformed. Today, you can eat out every day of the month and not eat the same style of food twice.
In a suitcase.
More importantly, the Asian community that were expelled from Uganda 40 years ago were predominantly hard-working, professional and business people. They were people who knuckled down, strived and have very largely succeeded. One only has to look at almost every profession in this country, and it is now almost totally reliant on the Asian community. Accountants, doctors, dentists, nurses, politicians, solicitors, barristers, estate agents, the list is endless, Mr. Mayor. Frankly, all of our professions would be very short-staffed without our Asian community. And Mr. Mayor, if you go into any of our schools, and more often than not, a high proportion of the pupils winning awards and getting into our best universities are the children of our ethnic minorities. They're an example to us all. The chaplain in his prayers earlier this evening talked of a rich diversity of communities in this borough. I'm proud of the way that so many communities find Barnet to be their home and that they share my pride in our borough. Mr. Mayor, I think that we as a council need to recognise the contribution that they have made over those 40 years, and that's why I've tabled this motion, and I urge all members to support it, and I would quite happily accept Councillor Solar's amendment.
Councillor Anthea Solar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, it was 40 years since Ugandan Indians were expelled from Uganda. Many came here with their suitcases tea plantations. Can you hear me? Right, thank you. Can you all hear me now, please? Yes. It is 40 years since Ugandan Indians were expelled from Uganda. Many came here with their suitcases, leaving all their possessions, houses, cars, tea plantations, sugar plantations, sisal estates, and much more behind. I've actually visited Jinja and Uganda and Kampala, and I've lived there for some time and for part of my holidays. Many had lived there for several generations, and they had contributed to the prosperity of Uganda. Idi Amin had threatened them with the concentration camps, and he had actually started looking for a site where he was going to build them. These Indians are shining example of how immigration is good for the country. Within 3 months, the camp where they had been provided temporary accommodation closed because they had all either found jobs or with the help of their relatives and friends set up businesses. Their children have done well in school, and through sheer hard work, they have integrated well in this country. As all these Indians will tell you, they are very grateful to this country for providing them with roof over their head. The political parties did not argue over whether they should be allowed or not. There was all-party agreement to take them as they all had British protected passports, and the only country they could come to was Britain. Those that had opted for Uganda passports, they were made stateless, and they went to countries like Canada, Sweden, Switzerland, and Australia. Leaders of all 3 political parties made speeches on television telling British people to help these newly arrived immigrants, and to be fair, British people did extend a very warm welcome to them. With the help of community groups, churches, and voluntary organizations, these people received help which they will never ever forget. I could go on about their achievements in the last 40 years. There are people, these people are in all walks of British life, in House of Lords, councillors, leader of the council, and in many multi-million-pound business and doing wonderful charity work. And I could go on. If you go to Tesco and buy your Tilda rice, that is actually a company owned by somebody from Uganda who came here penniless, and today it's a multi-million business. But that's only one example. In short, they did not want to be burdened to this country, and they have lived up to this reputation. It would be good to mark an event and invite them all, or invite some of them, to tell us how they've succeeded. We are twinned with Jinja, and Jinja is one of the towns from where quite a lot of these people come. This would renew their friendship with our twin town. So while we are celebrating the achievements of Uganda Indians, we could also bring Jinja on par with other twin towns. I support Councillor Branson on this motion. Thank you.
Councillor O'Connor.
We obviously, from the business party, support both the motion and the amendment. And what can I add to the very correct comments of Councillor Sander and Councillor Soda? The Ugandan Asians are great examples of good immigration to this country. People have come here, succeeded, integrated, and a great benefit through all aspects of life. In the House of Lords, my day job, there are a number of Ugandan Asians who play a very, very important part in the House of Lords and speak on many, many debates, even this week. So this is really great, but when in the motion it calls for a celebration, I mean, I think if one's calling for the High Commissioner to do so, Ugandan Asians have not only contributed to Barnet, they've contributed to right around the country. And I think if one's doing it, it should not just, it could be a Barnet-initiated event, but it should not just be Barnet, because Ugandan Asians have contributed so much to British life all around. If I could just perhaps amuse by saying that we did, at one stage, some years ago, decide to put outside the town hall all the shields of the numerous twin towns that the various boroughs that constitute the borough of Barnet was from which it was created. And these shields were put outside the town hall. At that time, not all the shields were available here in the town hall, so the officers at the time wrote to the various places for whom we could not have a shield, including Ginger, to say, could we have a shield because you're our twin town? But if I remember, they were quite surprised because they didn't realise they were a twin town. And immediately, they sent the mayor, the head of police, and a couple of other people over to Barnet because they thought there must be something helpful to Ginger in this, and they didn't realise all we wanted was this plate outside the town hall. And so we had a wonderful, well, I say it was a wonderful occasion. It was a lunch at the Head Hall Hotel. If the food had been cooked properly, it would have been all right. And I sat next to the police chief, who there was a slight problem because I didn't speak his language and he didn't speak mine. All I remember was that we were offering wine and he wanted beer, so we had to organise that. But the fact was, it was a good connection to make and a good connection to keep. And I think if we write to Ginger again, we ought to tell them how much we value the connection, but please be a bit careful the way you word the invitation. But I do very much support this motion of Councillor Sandra. I credit him for introducing it, but one should not only look at Barnet, one should look wider.
I shall show my letter to Councillor Palmer before
Mr. Mayor, can I just correct what Councillor Palmer has said? Just
Yes,
a small
yes.
correction. Councillor Palmer said that people, when they wrote to the High Commission, they didn't know that they were twin. So may I remind you that since when Idi Amin expelled all the Ugandan Asians, there was a lot of fighting going on in that country. They didn't even have proper High Commission offices here. And it was only after 30 years, that now 35 years, that the Indians, so it was a country in complete and utter turmoil. Idi Amin killed his own people. So that's why when you told these people that you realize you're twin with us, they didn't know.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. You got the point. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Brian Gordon.
Mr. Mayor, I support this motion and second it for a number of reasons. First of all, I want to say the Asian community, as a rule, is hard-working and is industrious. Also, the community is very much a champion of enterprise, free enterprise, as many of us want to describe it, very business-orientated, and as has already been said, much of the wealth creation that this country has seen in recent years is owed to the Asian community. The Asian community remains loyal, by and large, to the countries from which they originate, be they from Africa or from the subcontinent, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and still also have loyalty to this country, the country in which they live. Be they Hindu, Sikh, Muslim, whatever religion, one finds Asian people are very much proud of their culture, their background, their language, their ethnic traditions, and all that blends in very much with the multicultural route to which Britain has moved. Very family orientated, and that to me is very impressive. The fact that one finds that the Asian community brings up its children with a sense of purpose, a sense of values, and by and large a very law-abiding community and a loyal community. As has been said, many people came to this country from Uganda, and I do remember it. I remember the beastly regime of Idi Amin and all the terrible things that happened there. They came with very little, some penniless, and built themselves up largely on their own initiative and enterprise, and set up their own welfare organisations, didn't have the attitude that everything must be provided by the state, but wanted to work independently to set itself up. Many personal reasons I have for wanting to support this. First of all, I personally have lots of friends in the Asian community, many clients whom I deal with professionally, and I always find them very charming and very good to deal with. As a member of the Jewish community, I think our communities have a great deal in common. Many of the values that I've talked about, the family values, the loyalty to our traditions and the loyalty to this country is certainly indicative, need I say, of the Jewish community. And I think this can be said also of the Asian community. And in Barnet, we have one of the largest, if not the largest, Jewish community that there exists in this country, and certainly a very, very large Asian population as well. So, also the aspects of persecution. We Jewish people know what it is to be persecuted, not necessarily personally, thank God. Many of us in this chamber who are Jewish have never experienced it. None of us have, but we all know what has happened throughout history. This is the week of Holocaust Memorial, and we can see how many people were there, once again, commemorating and remembering these terrible things. And to the extent that the Asians have been victims of persecution, we know what that's like. India is a country where the Jewish community, a small community, very important, has thrived throughout the generations, where Jews have not been persecuted. As a resident of Barnet, I too, as others have said, am proud very much of the multicultural, harmonious nature of our borough, and I do see, just like the Jewish community, the Asian community is very much an integral part of that. And therefore I'm pleased to be associated with this motion, and I'm very pleased to see that it looks as though it's going to be unanimously supported. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Palmer.
Very quickly, you mentioned some similarities between the Jewish community and the Asian community. Can I just bring one up, please? I'm a member of the League of Jewish Women, and I must pay tribute to Sangam, the Association of Asian Women, which does so much good work in the community.
Yes, I second that. They really do. They're a delight. Right, Councillor Angus Slocum, please.
Mr. Mayor, wonders never cease. Wonders never cease, and things never seem to fail me. I have to say, I agree with what Councillor Salinger, Councillor Monroe, and Councillor Souther have said, but let us remember that Barnet was twinned with Ginger before, and for some reason we lost contact with them, as Councillor Souther said, through all the mishaps and what have you, it got lost. So when the Labour administration came in, we revived it again.
It was a coalition.
If you could remember.
It was a coalition.
Yes, well, you were part of it.
Could you continue, Councillor, please, on your topic? We're running out of time.
We did not work coalition in those days. However, you know what you get. Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I'm like, so we sort of revived it again, and we wrote to the Ugandan leader at that time, and he came over to see us. Now, I was mayor at that time, so I'm speaking the truth. And we came over, and we had him in parlour, and we had the discussions there, and he was delighted that we acknowledge Uganda again. Council saw that during this time after the revision, if you all remember, lots of your people on your side did give us great support with that party that we had, that gala we had. And Mr. Marshall, Councillor Marshall was the mayor at that time, when we had it at the Moran Hotel. And I have to say, you have been marvellous. You've given us a good support of it. But why I'm saying, Mr. Mayor, that wonders never cease, I'm glad to see that Councillor Gordon has grown up now. He was quite young. He was very young in those days. I'm very proud. And I'm not lying, because the president of Barnet Council. And when I speak, I come with the facts. And I have to say that I'm proud of him speaking there, because I could remember him saying, what did he say? I look forward, and this debate at that time, I look forward to him confirming that no longer holds the views he had 30 years ago, when he said of the Ugandan Asian immigrants whether or not it was right to accept them into Britain in the first place is quite another thing. So, I am proud that he has grown up. Very pleased what he said. I respect all he said tonight, and I do agree with him. But facts are here, it's there, the president belongs, it's all here. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's always nice to move a motion that receives unanimous support right the way across the council. Can I just say, Councillor Gordon and others have stressed that the Asian community share a lot of values with the Christian community. With the Jewish community. Let's not forget they share those same values with let's say all other religions in this borough.
And non-religious.
It isn't just one of them.
And non-religious.
It's fascinating how members remember history. I have to be honest, I had no knowledge at all of having people over from Ginger here. It was obviously an exceedingly well-kept secret at the time. But no one told the rest of us. That's fine. That was her problem. She didn't tell us. My understanding of the history of the relationship with Ginger goes back much further. It goes back to the time when Uganda became independent and borough council officers helped to advise the Ugandan government on how to set up local government. Was it intentional? It was government of local government officers from here in Bugle who helped set up the local government structures in Uganda, and that was how we came to be twins with Ginger. And the review that was talked about was actually a review of all the town twins, and letters went out to all of them saying, do you still want to remain twins with Barnet? We had